these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Monday morning. How about it? Hope you had a great weekend, celebrated Mother's Day in good style, and we welcome you to another week of the Bill Press Show here. We are live in our nation's capital, coming to you live from our studio on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, with our eye on what's going on here in Washington, around the country, and around the globe this Monday, May 12, and booming out to you on Free Speech TV and, of course, worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, TAWKR TV. That's youtube.com/TawkrTV. President Obama back in the White House this week, back from the West Coast. He got in a round of golf on Saturday, of course, and on Sunday he spent the day at the White House celebrating Mother's Day with his wife and his mother-in-law. The House of Representatives off on vacation this week. Why? What are they celebrating? No, they just took a week off because they wanted to take a week off, I guess. Left unresolved is the question of whether or not Democrats are going to participate or name any members to that special committee on Benghazi. Some Democrats want to be there in order to question witnesses and get their message out. Other Democrats say it's just a political farce and we should not dignify it by naming any members. That question is still to be resolved. And Senator Marco Rubio in Florida says, well, there may be such a thing as global warming, but he does not believe that humans have anything to do with it. We have not helped cause global warming. I don't know how he comes to that conclusion, but therefore we should, as humans, do nothing about it. This, of course, said by a man who wants to be president of the United States and represents Florida, which is sinking already. Go figure. That and a lot more. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and stay with us here on this Monday edition of The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all of the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university?
And, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Mother's Day is over. Back to work. Here we go on a Monday morning. Hello, everybody. What do you say? It is Monday, May 12. Hey, great to see you today. I hope you enjoyed the weekend. Celebrated Mother's Day in great style and are now ready to tackle the news of the day, such as it is, coming to you live from our nation's capital with the little bit that's going on here in Washington, D.C., a whole lot more around the country and around the globe, including that totally wasted, phony election yesterday, referendum in eastern Ukraine, but it does continue to stir up trouble there. We've got to cover what's happening here in our nation's capital, anywhere here in the United States of America or around the globe. And we'll tell you what's going on, and most importantly, open up the phones, open up the social media, and let you tell us what it all means to you, to your community, to your family, and you can do so by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS. By sending us your comments on Twitter. Love to hear from you on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. What do you say? A whole team here this morning. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Good morning.
Weekend could not have been that wild if you, showed up this morning.
If we all show up on Monday, that means we didn't have a great weekend.
Alicia Cruz is here. Yes, she's got the phones going, and Cyprian Bolding, fresh from the Wizards Verizon Center here this morning.
The demise.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. Cyprian, we were counting on you to bring the Wizards through. What's it, 3-1 now against the Pacers, right?
They're in a hole.
Yep.
They're in a deep hole now.
The Wizards kind of ran out of gas. So did the Nats, by the way, out in Oakland, losing 3 in a row. I mean, not even close. Getting just 9-1 yesterday. Man.
It's bad.
Not good.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Well, they don't belong on the West Coast anyhow. Get them to help back here on the East Coast.
We hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Don't let them play on the West Coast.
Yeah. Oakland A's. Been to a lot of games in the Coliseum there. It's a great spot, but not so good for the Nats yesterday. Yeah. Washington sports. What we need is we need a guy like Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
I mean, no, there's a guy, right? So
Draft Putin.
It's draft Putin. They have this, I love this. And the Russians really believe this crap. So they have this ice hockey championship in Sochi. Remember Sochi? Yeah.
Their own little mini Olympics, I guess.
The snow's still melting there. At any rate. And so Putin, right, he does this stuff. He just shows up and does these legendary feats, right? So he shows up for this championship, and he plays on this one team, and they win 21-4. His team, of course, wins 21-4. And
which is in hockey.
Hockey. Have you ever heard of hockey?
Exactly. That doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen.
Hockey scores are like 1-0,
Exactly.
2-1, whatever, right? So 21-4, and Putin scores 6 goals.
And 5 assists.
And 5 assists. He just happened. And afterwards, he just sort of shrugged it off.
У нас нет победителей и проигравших. У нас дружеская игра, это шоу, и все получили удовольствие.
Now we are told, I could not verify this, that Putin is saying right there, no, it was just a friendly game. Everybody played well, and yeah, right. 6 games, 6 goals.
Oh, here he comes.
5 assists.
Oh, let me try and stop Putin. Oh, darn, he just scored again.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Boy, how do you keep doing it? What an athlete.
I wonder if he wore a jersey or if he went shirtless.
Shirtless. You know he went shirtless.
He went shirtless on the ice.
Yeah, you know he went shirtless.
I'm pretty sure he did. All right, I got to tell you, it was a great weekend. I hope it was where you are. Well, not every part of the country. There's serious tornado activity and even snow out in the plains. But here on the East Coast, at least in Washington, D.C., it was spectacular yesterday, got to say.
Yeah, it was nice.
I mean, it was like perfect temperature, beautiful, sunny, not a cloud in the sky, just spectacular.
It was nice.
Not a mosquito in the air.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just wait.
They're coming.
Pretty soon we'll be dripping with humidity and peppered with
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Enjoy it while it lasts, like maybe one day. Coming up, Evan McMorris Santoro here from Buzzfeed, one of our favorite guests, as a friend of Bill here for our last hour together. We'll have reporters from Politico and from the Cook Political Report. And then Dennis Van Roekel, the president of the National Education Association as well. And a big weekend for solar energy. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Sad news for fans of the TV show Community on NBC.
Yes?
That show was canceled on Friday, starring Joel McHale, fresh off of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's had a very rocky history. They tried canceling it before, then fans sort of rallied to bring it back, but they just said that not enough people are watching. And an even bigger blow, fans rallied to try and get Netflix to pick it up for another season, which is what they've done with other TV shows. Netflix confirmed that is not going to happen. It's a matter of rights. They don't have them, and so that's not going to happen. So that's it. Community is over.
Well, Joel McHale can always just do stand-up comedy, right?
He must have done a really bad job at the Correspondents'
Dinner.
Congratulations to Michael Sam. He has been drafted in the NFL draft. It came close. There were only 8 picks remaining in the draft over the weekend, and people were starting to worry that maybe he wouldn't get picked up, but he was drafted by the St. Louis Rams.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting news. It is the first openly gay player in the NFL.
And he was very excited, and he was there, got the call, he was there with his boyfriend. And he kissed his boyfriend, and now everybody's raising, oh, this is terrible, this is terrible.
Oh, my goodness.
His boyfriend. I mean, you know, right? If a guy had been there with his girlfriend and kissed his girlfriend.
All weekend long, you saw guys kissing their girlfriend.
Yeah,
yep.
Right. Or their wife or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, fine. That was fine. But to kiss his boyfriend, oh, no, can't have that. Yeah.
It was a very good moment.
It was a good moment for him and for the world.
Up to British Columbia and Canada.
We need to get him on the show.
We're working on it.
All right.
We are working on it. You got it. Up to British Columbia and Canada, where David Jones is opening up the very first restaurant to do away with tipping. The name of the restaurant is Smoke and Water. He is the very first Canadian restaurant to do it. And he says that what he's going to do is pay his servers a living wage, which in British Columbia, by the way, is between $20 and $24 an hour.
Living wage, right. And here we won't even raise it to $10 minimum.
Right.
Yep.
$10.10 an hour.
Between $20 and $24 an hour is what he's going to pay servers, and then he's just going to up the prices on his menu, he said, between 18 and 22%. So you're going to pay more for the food, but he's going to pay the servers a living wage.
Wow. All right.
We'll keep an eye on it.
All right.
See how it goes.
Yep. See how that works. I think it's a good idea. Interesting times over the weekend and conflicting messages and direction on renewable energy, which I wanted to start off with this morning and get your comments on at 866-55-PRESS. So, you know, we had the good and the bad here. Okay. On the good, President Obama, of course, last week releasing, as required by law, as required by Congress, so this was not some political stunt, as Republicans claimed. They passed a bill requiring the White House to do this. They can't accuse the White House of playing politics when they do what Congress ordered them to do, which is to give a status report on climate change. And the report, as we saw last week, was pretty serious, pretty scary. It said that climate change is real. It is happening now. It is impacting every single corner of this country, and it's only going to get worse. And they detailed the impacts in terms of on crops and on water supply and on temperatures and on down the line. And meanwhile, the president also took some action on that. Maybe the most dramatic was that they revealed that they have installed solar panels on the roof of the White House. Interestingly, panels were first put on the White House by Jimmy Carter. Ronald Reagan, who was not a believer in climate change or doing anything in terms of renewable energy, had them removed from the White House, which is ridiculous. But President Obama has put them back. These are, of course, more update, all made in America, all installed, and they are operating on the White House roof today, just as they are operating on the roof of the press cottage, just about a block from our studio. And by the way, we are generating so much electricity now that we're selling electricity back to the utility.
That is awesome.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Is
that right?
We're generating more electricity than we need.
What a racket.
I know, it's
That's
a great
awesome.
racket. I have a power plant on my roof.
Press Energy LLC.
Yes, do. Isn't that great?
It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, no, it makks sense. So there, just a little power plant over there. Yeah,
That's great.
Right. So anyhow, great for the White House. And yesterday, then President Obama, on Friday rather, he was in San Jose, California, and went to a Walmart. Walmart is getting 25% of its energy now from solar. And the president said, here is our goal by 2020.
And it's all part of your goal to buy or produce 7 billion kilowatt hours of renewable energy by 2020. Something that could save Walmart $1 billion a year in energy costs.
And the president said it's not just Walmart. 300 different organizations and businesses are doing the same thing.
More than 300 organizations, from home builders to affordable housing owners to companies like Home Depot and Apple, announced that they are going to expand the use of solar energy, thereby creating more jobs and cutting carbon pollution.
So that's the good side, right? Recognizing, again, climate change is a real serious issue and doing what we can about it, even if Congress won't act, doing what we can as individuals or as businesses to move toward a renewable energy future. And then the contrast, you got Marco Rubio, right? Remember him, the boy genius, okay? Still looks like he's 12 years old. The guy that Time magazine put on this cover as the Republican savior, they called him. So he was on This Week with George Stephanopoulos over the weekend, and he's asked about climate change and whether we ought to do something about it.
I don't agree with the notion that some are putting out there, including scientists, that somehow there are actions we can take today that would actually have an impact on what's happening in our climate. Our climate is always changing.
Yeah, our climate is always changing, he says, and what they have chosen to do is take a handful of decades of research and say that this is new evidence of a longer-term trend that's directly and almost solely attributable to man-made activities. Marco Rubio saying he doesn't believe that human activities have anything to do with global warming. And therefore, because he doesn't believe it, now here, okay, you got like every freaking scientist in the world, except those who don't work for coal companies, that say climate change is real and human activity is causing it. And then Marco Rubio says, I don't believe it, therefore I don't think we should do anything about it. It's what an idiot. I mean, seriously. And by the way, he doesn't believe it, so what, right?
Right. Who cares what you think?
Who cares what this jerk thinks, right, from Florida? Right. He's no scientist. It's just like saying, well, some people say that smoking is bad for you. Chain smoking is bad for you. I don't believe it. Hello, okay. Yeah. I mean, some people say that, the world is round. A lot of people say that. Yeah. I don't believe it. He's running for president of the United States. Okay. The vast majority of scientists say, we got a real problem here, right? I don't believe it. Therefore, we will do nothing about it. And again, he's running for president of the United States. I just can't believe it. And he is from Florida. Florida is sinking already, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just looking this morning. First of all, we saw in the climate change report released last week that the sea level has risen 8 inches. 8 inches since 1880. Now, that's a long time, but 8 inches is a lot of water. The Army Corps of Engineers predicts that it's going to rise another 3 to 7 inches in Florida by 2030. This is 2014. If you got a 30-year mortgage on a piece of property in Florida near the water, you're underwater, babe.
Yeah.
I mean, 2030 sounds like a long way away.
Oh, it's not.
It's not.
No, it's not at all.
It's not. 3 to 7 inches. So Florida is thinking now of spending billions and billions and billions. They're debating it in Florida. Billions of dollars on dikes and dams and everything else to keep the sea back. And here's their United States Senator, one of them saying, I don't believe it. Isn't it unbelievable? That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, or not funny, but I think interesting and telling about Rubio is that's the same argument that's been used for years and years and years. Oh, well, this happens all the time. This dramatic weather comes and goes and things like that. Yeah. He just hasn't learned or bothered to pay attention to what's going on around him. You know, there are even some conservatives who say, like, okay, maybe some of the claims are overblown, but we are having an effect on the weather.
Yeah, right.
You know, and that's, I don't think that goes far enough. But for him to just say, like, no, we have nothing to do with it.
George W. Bush believed in climate change. In 2008, John McCain and Barack Obama both said climate change is real, we're causing it, and we got to do something about it. Marco Rubio, running for president, wants to in 2016, says, well, I don't believe it. So I guess my question is this guy really ready to be president of the United States? He is a leading candidate. Think about that. His state is sinking. I hope his house is the first one underwater. There. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it Monday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You make it sound very easy to take these 90-degree turns in your career. You went from engineering to law. But there's an awful lot of people at that age who feel they're on a track, they've invested time in learning a career, and they need to see it through to the end, or maybe their parents are pushing them to stay in one route. What is your advice for a young person?
Stay away from your parents.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
My mom is a pretty spectacular human being. We essentially came to the United States as refugees. And that is when I really got to understand who my mom was as a person. Being a refugee in a foreign country, you would think that it would affect you so much. It was like my mom, nothing changed for my mom. What was really at her core and her center was always being with her kids and getting to spend time with them and making sure that they were okay and making sure that they could still go out and play soccer. I knew that if my goal was to go to Liberia and to work on economic justice so that, kids could go to school and have access to a doctor if they have malaria, that if I bet on their moms, we win.
I think I just come from a lineage of kick-ass women is all I can say. My grandmother came to this country from Mexico as a single mom with 5 children. And I, have an amazing mother who had 3 children, was going to school, working full-time. I mean, almost my story. But she did that and got her bachelor's degree at 40. And so I had a great role model. When I came home and told my mom I was pregnant, her response to me wasn't, your life is over. Her response to me is, well, I want a plan. You need to, let me know what you're going to do about this because you're now responsible for somebody else.
I was the first one in my family to go to college, and my parents were very proud of it. They both had to work. My mom in a factory and my dad in the supermarket, and I was their success story. However, on graduation day, they said, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be an engineer? You're going to be a businessman? What are you going to, a lawyer? I said, I'm going to join the Peace Corps. And they said, what? My parents were very much opposed to this, and it was very difficult.
How much pressure did they put on you?
Tremendous pressure. Up until we were leaving from O'Hare Airport for me to go to Peru, my mother questioning me, like, where is Peru? You've never been out of the country. What do you know? Do they have doctors? Do they speak English there? What are you going to eat? You like my cooking? I said, Mom, I'm going to be a pioneer. Why do you always have to be the pioneer? Let them do it. Let them come back, and then you go. I said, no, I want to be the first to go.
I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, so there was a lot of gang activity. And one of my friends actually was murdered on a basketball court when a 15-year-old child shot him in the back of the head. And I was just hopeless. And my mom actually, she brought me to a place of empathy for the kids who were involved in actually murdering him. Because my mom sort of said, look, where do you think those kids are coming from? And then she said, so if you're angry about it, do something. Actually change the way this world works.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Marco Rubio says he doesn't believe in climate change. Certainly, he doesn't believe that human activity has anything to do with it. Just reading again from during the break here. From this is a PBS report. South Florida elected officials have formally accepted a projection by the U.S. Corps of Engineers that sea levels will rise 3 to 7 inches by 2030 and 9 to 24 inches by 2060. Unabated, these changes would pretty much wipe out Miami Beach before the end of the century. But Marco Rubio doesn't believe it. Peter.
We're on Twitter at BP Show. On Twitter at BP Show. Ned says this is Rubio's mantra. Failure is the only option. And Jessica says, at least if the water level is rising, Rubio won't have to reach very far for his water when he's giving his speeches.
Oh, right. I remember
that's good.
Dan is out in Chicago on the great WCPT. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Good morning, Bill. You know, Bill, I think that people like Marco Rubio, what they do is they prostitute themselves out to the corporations. He's not concerned about his constituency. I think what they do is when they think about just getting a job for a corporation that pays them 7 or 8 figures a year once he's done with his stint in the Senate. You know, it's ironic that we got a movie out named Noah right now. You know, look at what these people did. They ignored him until there was no place else to go. Let's keep partying until there's no place else to go. Then when everybody's swimming, help, let me in.
Yeah, Dad, you got it exactly right. I'm glad you remind us about Noah. Yeah, Marco Rubio better start building one.
Is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I talk to undergraduates and graduate students who are desperate to go out and start something and build something and be the one to come up with that silver bullet solution. And I just want to say, slow down.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis. Most of the people you're talking to who want to come into the social change space, are they prepared?
If you're early in your career, there's a couple of really important things to do. The first one is just to shut the hell up and don't talk for about 5 years and work really, really hard. The only way you're going to be given more difficult things to do is by solving the ones you're already given. And if you're somebody who's always complaining or wants to be promoted above where they really are, you can't learn enough to start to take on a greater pool of responsibilities.
Advice you would give a person coming out of college is go work for other people, make your mistakes on their dime.
That sounds like me, absolutely.
It does sound like you.
And you know who that came from is one of my board members, Eric Buttline. Eric had seen me start a few companies as a young kid. I mean, I started my first real company when I was 16. And Eric said, Chid, do me a favor. I know you have this thing in your head that you think you're this great entrepreneur, but like, go work for somebody for a little while and just learn how things are supposed to be done. And when you're done with that, let's have another conversation about, you know, your next venture.
And I think another thing to remember, and this is something that I've really only learned in the past couple of years, is that although the problems are urgent and so important for us to address, I need to have more patience. I'm not going to solve those problems on my own. You're not going to solve those problems on your own. I'm an apprentice in all of this. You know, I'm an apprentice in life. I'm an apprentice in problem solving. I'm not going to change the world until I'm at least 65. That's my goal at this point.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org to let us know your thoughts.
Tune into the Thom Hartmann Program, a live broadcast featuring the nation's #1 progressive talk show host. Phones open at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Free Speech TV.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Okay, 33 minutes after the hour here. Monday morning, May 12. Welcome back to the real world, everybody. Well, I'm not sure this is the real world, but it sure was a great weekend. We are coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their colorful, powerful, articulate, raising hell kind of president, Leo Gerard. The United Steelworkers, North America's largest industrial union, representing over 1.2 million active and retired members. And you can find out more about their good work at their website, usw.org. We're talking about Marco Rubio, who, by the way, he made all these comments while he was in New Hampshire, not just on vacation. He's up there stumping around the state. And he said, yes, I am ready to be president. He told George Stephanopoulos that he has enough experience. He's ready. He's qualified to be president of the United States. And then he turns around and says, of course, even though my state is sinking, I don't believe. He didn't say he didn't believe in global warming. I want to be careful. What he said was he doesn't believe that human activity has anything to do with global warming. Therefore, we should do nothing about it. And we have to do nothing about it because we didn't cause it. We just let it continue to go on. We let Miami sink on the sea. Well, you know, he doesn't care because he won't be around.
That's right. That's right.
When
he
it
won't
does.
be in Miami
right.
when it happens.
Unbelievably short-sighted, unbelievably wrong. And again, he's running for president of the United States, and he's considered a front runner.
We are on Twitter, by the way.
He's as crazy as that James Inhofe from Oklahoma. Nobody considers him a serious presidential candidate.
Yeah, it's kind of like, look, you can say whatever you want to say, right?
Right.
That doesn't mean we have to take you seriously. There's a guy out there on the street yelling that the end is coming or something like that. That doesn't. So what?
I see them every day in front of the White House.
Sure.
You want to see the craziest people on the planet?
Yeah.
Walk down Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House. I mean, they just come there every day and they're just spouting, and everybody looks at them and knows that they're totally nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
But they can say that.
Yeah. Right. And
just like Marco Rubio can say he doesn't
That's
believe
where
it.
Marco Rubio belongs. Yeah.
If you want to join in the conversation, by the way,
wearing a tinfoil hat in front of the White House.
That's right. Not only can you call us, you can find us on Twitter at BP Show, at BP Show. That's what John did. He said Marco Rubio is always wrong. He always panders. In fact, he makes Mitt Romney look serious and grounded.
Well, And his first big thing was on immigration, right? He came out, he's a champion, we have to do immigration. They started getting a little heat from the Tea Party, and then he totally backed off and said, who needs to do immigration reform? Yeah. So this is a guy, again, prepared to be president. I'm telling you. Carl from Chicago. Hello, Carl. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you? Happy Monday.
All right, happy Monday. Yeah, if there is such a thing.
President Marco Rubio. You know, he's qualified to be a leader. He's qualified to be the president, possibly of the Cub Scouts. Possibly.
Possibly.
With a little boning up and a little work. God. But I could just see him stepping forward and making a few changes and saying the Cub Scouts should not help little old ladies cross the street, okay, because it's a natural thing for little old ladies to get run down by trucks and cars, and we shouldn't intervene because it's just part of nature that older people shouldn't be on this planet anymore if they're not able to cross the street.
No, I'm with you. You can take that argument to such absurd points, right? But that's what he does. It makes as much sense what you just said about little old ladies crossing the street as it does about climate change, right?
Yeah.
What are they looking for, Carl? I don't know. I appreciate that very much. That was a good moment. Mike up in Anchorage, Alaska. Hello, Mike. Good morning.
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
Hey, we know there's no climate change up in. You know that up in Alaska, right?
It's getting warmer up here too, but he needs to go back and at least tour his own district because I believe South Beach is already being encroached by ocean because of climate change. And by the way, most of South Florida will be gone. It will be encroached by the ocean in about like you mentioned, about 20, 30 years, most of the Everglades will be gone. He needs to do his homework if he's going to run for president.
Hey, Mike, I was just reading this, okay, this is a sea captain down in South Florida, right? He says, if you look today, you can see small changes turning into big changes over a period of time. You can see water coming, this is today, water coming out of Biscayne Bay, up the storm sewers, and onto the streets of Florida, South Florida, until it's about a foot deep.
That's right. That's what's happening right now.
Right now, this is happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're in big trouble right now. But the positive sign is we can do things like put solar cells on our houses and sell them back to the grid. That's what they were doing in Germany. Germany's ahead of their solar energy plans right now.
Oh, they have, yeah.
Totally doable. And we're doing more and more of it in Southern California, for example. You can keep a house solar here in Alaska from November to March. It came from 3 separate sources. So we get more solar energy in Alaska than they do Germany, and they're doing it in Germany right now.
There is a lot we can do, Mike. The problem is that we have the political gridlock in Congress is really preventing them from achieving the most important thing, which is a carbon tax. Or some kind of long range solution to the climate change. But in the meantime, there are many things we can do. The president's done that with his executive actions. EPA has already put and the Supreme Court, remember, 6-2, supported their new rules for existing coal power plants. And they're going to come out with some new rules in June for new construction of coal-powered plants, if we're going to build any more of those, and unfortunately it looks like we are. But anyway, there are things we can do. That's the good news. The bad news is you got a guy like Marco Rubio seriously running for president of the United States who asserts that he is a non-believer, even though his own state is one of the ones being most seriously impacted by climate change. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just if I were a Floridian, right? I don't care if he's a Republican or a Democrat. I'd be pretty pissed off at this guy with just sticking his head in the sand.
Right.
This what I read about the sea captain. We were talking there with Mike from Anchorage about what's happening today in the streets of South Florida. Remember, I talked about this last week in the New York Times. There was a story about this guy who's a salesman. So he's going from business to business, whatever his product is, in South Florida. And he keeps in his car a set of stores plastic bags and rubber bands, because so often just to get in these stores, he has to walk in water.
Yeah.
Now, he's not out in the ocean somewhere. He's in the streets of South Florida. And so he puts these plastic bags around his shoes so he can walk into stores to do his business, sell his products.
This is
today.
Today. This is the thing that I don't understand, is I don't understand what it's going to take.
I don't either.
For people like Marco Rubio to sort of wake up and realize what's happening. Because just this year alone, right? Like, we're just in May. There have already been several studies and reports that definitively show that we are having a negative impact on the environment. And it's getting hotter, and sea levels are rising, and any piece of information you could possibly want to show you that we are screwing ourselves over, and yet this is one of the leading Republicans.
Marco Rubio's house will be up to the second-story windows. He'll be sitting on the roof saying, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Don't believe it.
Some people say that human activity has created global warming.
Water.
But I don't believe it. Yeah, pass me another Dos Equis. Parker's calling from Peoria, Illinois. Hey, Parker. Oops. Parker went away?
We lost Parker.
Hello, Parker?
Hello.
Hey, there you are. Hey, all right.
Yeah, there I am, right there. Yeah.
All right, good. What's up? What do you think?
I just think, first of all, you made a reference concerning his age. He's not, he was not 13 or 14, because I went to school with him. He's at least 16.
I just said he looks 13.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay, but nonetheless, there's a lot of people out there, especially Republicans, who are just blind to global warming. And a lot of those places are places and states where they're going to be asking for federal assistance when the tornadoes hit their state.
Oh, yeah.
Or the floods hit their state.
Oh, yeah.
Or the wildfires hit their state, or the hurricanes hit their state. Well, you know, they basically should just sign off. If they think there's no global warming, they should just sign off asking for any money. The gentleman from Oklahoma,
James Inhofe.
Yes, Inhofe. You know, he did that once.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've got family that lives in Missouri where they got hit with they get hit with tornadoes all the time, but they got hit with a devastating tornado, and their state got together and redid the city's Joplin area, and they actually did get federal assistance. You know, they fought it for a little bit, but you can't go both ways.
No, with that, well, the problem is, Parker, they always do, and I'm with you, and we've talked about it before. All of these people that either the climate deniers or those who always rant and rail and campaign against the federal government. The federal government can do no good, and we got to have less government. All the Tea Partiers, right? The first. When they get in trouble, what's the first thing they do? They have their hand out for federal assistance. Oh, yeah. Give me. You're right. Yeah. Maybe with Marco Rubio, that ought to be the reaction. Oh, you don't believe in global warming? Well, therefore, the Army Corps of Engineers is not going to do anything to save South Florida. Yeah. And then see what a political career Marco Rubio has. Seriously, he wants to run for president of the United States. Scott Bland from the National Journal Hotline, senior analyst, joins us in our next segment here to take a look at the news of the day. Thanks for all those calls. Great conversation. Marco Rubio, loser.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
12 minutes now before the top of the hour on a Monday morning, Monday, May 12. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital. Things kind of quiet in Washington, D.C. The House of Representatives out for the week. I think the Senate is still in session. Whatever's happening, Scott Bland's on top of it. He's the senior analyst at the National Journal Hotline, joining us again this morning. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Hope you had a good weekend.
Very.
So one thing, the House went away for a week, and one thing they did not resolve is whether or not Democrats are going to take part in, participate, or appoint any members to this new Benghazi Select Committee. How do you think that's going to play out, Scott?
It's not really clear yet. I think that, the Democrats, and I think that they'll probably use their week away to finalize their thoughts about this, but they're very nervous about the idea of legitimizing what they see as going into it, kind of baked in unfair proceedings. But there is a lot of internal conflict about it because a lot of members of the party are concerned about having, not having their kind of counter message worked into the process. And so, I have a hard time imagining that they're going to give up that opportunity entirely. And that seems to be the way a number of some of the leaders within the caucus are leaning, but it's really difficult to say at this point. I imagine that's going to clarify over the course of the week as they take the recess to think about it.
Well, I know, I think it was Friday that Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut came out with a compromise, which was just to appoint one Democrat to the panel. So there'd be one voice there, but that would also show that it wasn't really a legitimate panel, right? A committee. I mean, that was maybe, I don't know whether she's got any supporters for that idea. I thought it was a unique way of approaching it.
Right. No, I guess that is one plan out there. I haven't seen similar comments from any of the other Democratic leaders in the House. But deadlines have a way of clarifying opinions. So I imagine as we move toward the end of the week, we'll see some movement on that.
Now with the House out this week, and I keep asking. In fact, I've talked to a couple of members about it. I haven't found anybody who is able to explain what this week off is all about. It's too early to be Memorial Day. Maybe unless it's a Mother's Day week. But I think isn't the reality that Congress has just about run out of gas for this year?
It certainly seems like it, right? I mean, we haven't seen,
and it's only May. Let's point out, but
on much of anything, and I wonder the degree to which the kind of growing importance of primaries has something to do with it. It's harder and harder to get people to focus on anything earlier and earlier now because everyone's got something to worry about on the electoral front, and this week there's only a couple primaries, and we've got one in Nebraska and one in West Virginia. But it's May is a very busy month. I think there's 6 states the next Tuesday after this one, and so it's on everyone's mind.
So that's what they're thinking about that, rather than getting anything done here in Washington D.C. And I saw your story about congressional candidate out in California. Amanda Renteria, what's she doing that's making a little bit of news?
That's right. So she released a pair of TV ads last week, which we just over at the Hotline we thought was kind of interesting and wanted to highlight. She introducing herself in English and Spanish in her district, which is one of the more interesting ones in the country. It's California's 21st district. It's about 3/4 Latino. It voted for President Obama at about 55% clip, but it has a freshman Republican representing the district, and it's one of the most Obama-leaning and Democratic-leaning districts represented by a Republican, and Democrats really failed to challenge it properly with a good candidate last time. They had some recruiting issues there, and the party is really excited about Renteria. She's a first-time candidate. It remains to be seen what she'll be able to do, but she's a native of the district and has done a good job putting together the preliminary steps for a run. One of the questions now is this is also one of the lowest participation districts in the country. Voter turnout very, very low in this part of the Central Valley in California, and so there's a question of whether she'll be able to leverage her personal story into increased turnout for Democrats in the area.
Yeah, I have met her. She's also a former chief of staff here, I think, to Debbie Stabenow, right?
That's right. Yes. First Latina chief of staff in the Senate.
First Latina chief of staff. So. Very well qualified. I think a great candidate, and I was glad to see your story about her, Amanda Renteria, in California's 21st district. Hey, Scott, good to catch up with you. Enjoy the rest of the week, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Of course, thank you.
Thanks, Scott. It's thenationaljournal.com for the Hotline.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Bauhaus was one of the most definitive design movements of the modern age, reaching its peak between the 2 world wars. The word Bauhaus, loosely translated from German, means house of construction or school of building. Bauhaus was a new type of art school. Historically, European art academies taught each design subject separately. The Bauhaus offered foundation training in many art and design disciplines. They believed in variety. Understanding mass production was part of the curriculum, and the school sought to develop students who could unify art with craft while embracing new technology. It was also the beginning of the art school as an alternative way of life. Germany at that time was a pretty conservative place, and before the Nazis said "Nein" to the Bauhaus, it was arguably the most celebrated art school in the world. Bauhaus thinkers believed the world needed to be fundamentally rethought. Unnecessary ornamentation was out. Minimalism was in. Good design required simplicity and geometric purity. One of the best known icons of Bauhaus design is the cantilevered chair. Designed by someone named Breuer, it was inspired by the steel tubes of his bicycle, and ultimately led to the first lightweight, mass-produced metal chair. Despite his success, Breuer concluded that eventually chairs would become obsolete, and everyone would soon be sitting on supportive columns of air. Bauhaus was all about innovation and inspiration. Nowadays, Bauhaus influences can be seen everywhere, from road signs and graphic design to big windows and even bigger buildings. In architecture, the international style, as it became known, influenced skylines the world over. Bauhaus was about ideas, reform, exploration and vitality, about making more tidy sense of the rapidly evolving world around us, and giving us more cool stuff for our apartments.
Tune into the Thom Hartmann Program, a live broadcast featuring the nation's #1 progressive talk show host. Phones open at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Free Speech TV.
All right, in the next hour, Dennis Van Roekel, president of the National Education Association, will be joining us, as well as chief investigative reporter for Politico, Ken Vogel. Evan McMorris Santoro here is a friend of Bill in the 8 o'clock hour with Jennifer Duffy from the Cook Political Report as we hopscotch across all the important Senate races for 2014. It's a busy Monday morning on the Bill Press Show. Good to have you with us. 2 more hours coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Monday morning. How about it? Hope you had a great weekend. Celebrated Mother's Day in good style. And we welcome you to another week of the Bill Press Show here. We are live in our nation's capital, coming to you live from our studio on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, with our eye on what's going on here in Washington, around the country, and around the globe this Monday, May 12, and booming out to you on Free Speech TV and, of course, worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, TAWKR TV. That's youtube.com/TawkrTV. President Obama back in the White House this week, back from the West Coast. He got in a round of golf on Saturday, of course, and on Sunday he spent the day at the White House celebrating Mother's Day with his wife and his mother-in-law. The House of Representatives off on vacation this week. Why? What are they celebrating? No, they just took a week off because they wanted to take a week off, I guess. Left unresolved is the question of whether or not Democrats are going to participate or name any members to that special committee on Benghazi. Some Democrats want to be there in order to question witnesses and get their message out. Other Democrats say it's just a political farce and we should not dignify it by naming any members. That question's still to be resolved. And Senator Marco Rubio in Florida says, well, there may be such a thing as global warming, but he does not believe that humans have anything to do with it. We have not helped cause global warming. I don't know how he comes to that conclusion, but therefore we should, as humans, do nothing about it. This, of course, said by a man who wants to be president of the United States and represents Florida, which is sinking already. Go figure. That and a lot more. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and stay with us here on this Monday edition of The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university? And,
people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Donald Sterling says, forgive me. Yeah, forget me is better. Get out of here. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? I've had enough of Donald Sterling, you know. His 15 minutes is way over. Can't wait for the NBA play. What are they waiting for? Get together. Get that meeting and vote him out.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning, May 12. Great to see you today. And thank you for joining us on the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., the most powerful city on the planet, reaching out to you wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours or around the globe. You can find us on your local progressive talk radio station, of course, nationwide, on Free Speech TV nationwide, if you got a satellite dish, DirecTV, and on our video stream worldwide at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Thank you for joining us. Hope you had a great weekend, celebrated Mother's Day in style, and are ready to tackle the news of the day, the news of the week. That's what we do here every day. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what it means to you by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS, by sending us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We've heard from a lot of you already this morning, and look forward to talking to even more of you. And our team here in place, ready to go. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, hello.
Hey, good morning.
Everything good?
Yes, indeed.
Great weekend. Wonderful weather.
All right, great. Hope you celebrated in style with Alicia Cruz there on the phones. And
happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Alicia. That's right. And Cyprian Boulding here.
Happy Mother's Day to Cyprian, also a mother.
He hovers. Uh-oh. Watch
Here
out.
He comes.
He hovers over us like a mother.
That's right.
Yes, he does.
That's right.
Takes good care of us on the video cam, Cyprian Boulding.
Always watching.
Our videographer. Well, it is that season now. Graduation season, a lot of commencement exercises. First Lady was out there over the weekend giving a commencement address. So was... who was it at Howard University? I saw this morning in the Post.
Oh, was it Sean Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
Puff Daddy, Diddy, whatever he's going by
Diddy,
now.
excuse
Whatever
me.
he's going by these days.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going by.
Sean Puff Diddy was there, and Vice President Joe Biden down at the University of South Carolina, saying that the ones who are really celebrating graduation day are the parents.
Your parents are celebrating today because they're all getting their first pay raise in years. No tuition next year.
No tuition for the parents. Big grins on their faces. Yes, indeed. Lots coming up here this morning. We're going to kick off this hour with President Dennis Van Roekel of the NEA down in front of the Supreme Court. It's a big day. He'll tell us why today. Evan McMorris Santoro from Buzzfeed will be here as a friend of Bill in the next hour. Ken Vogel from Politico joins us a little bit later this hour. And then Jennifer Duffy from the Cook Political Report to take a look at big Senate races this year. We'll talk about the big day for education in this country at the top of the hour. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. NBC News Wall Street Journal poll that came out just in time for Mother's Day reveals who is the most admired First Lady. Any guesses?
Well, we only have one.
Well, from the past.
Oh.
From the past.
Oh, of all time?
Of all time.
Dolly Madison.
It is a tie between Barbara Bush and Hillary Clinton.
Really?
They are the two most admired.
Not Jackie Kennedy?
Not Jackie
No, I really
Kennedy.
thought it would be Jackie Kennedy.
27% picked Bush and Clinton. 24% went with Michelle Obama. So she's a very close second, with only 17 picking Laura Bush.
And Hillary was where?
She's at the top. She's tied for first.
Oh, I got tied for Bush with Barbara Bush. Yeah.
There you go. It's a big day today, Bill. It was almost 3 years ago that the Washington Monument closed down because of the earthquake that we had. Well, today it is reopening. It has been closed for 33 months. They did an extensive analysis and restoration, and they're going to kick off a big ceremony around 10 a.m. Eastern time today with tickets going out on a first-come, first-served basis. So congratulations. It's back open. right here.
Very, very exciting. Might have to go back up again.
That's right.
Not today. There's too many people today, but yeah.
And as we mentioned last hour, Michael Sam, the first openly gay football player, is now the first openly gay NFL player. He was drafted by the St. Louis Rams, and as one source was quoted as saying that the sales of Michael Sam Rams jerseys, which are now on sale, they are, quote, ridiculous in terms of how many people have bought them.
Oh, my God.
There is a flood of requests to get the Michael Sam
They already have, even though he's just picked, they already
they put them right out. They get them right out there.
Very smart marketing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, just to put it in a numbers game, the gay community is a huge untapped community for football. And, yeah, go get a Michael Sam jersey. Why the hell not?
You got it. All right. Yeah, we already get some. Well, when he comes on the show, we'll have him bring some.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, good. Hey, it's 12 minutes now. I'm sorry? Hello? Yes. You can...
What's up?
You can
just letting you know that Mr. Van Roekel will be calling shortly, any moment now, but we are still waining for him.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, good. Thank you for letting me know because I was about to introduce him. So with live radio, then we have to do what we call vamp, right?
Well, but really quickly, because there are a couple of numbers on the Michael Sam jersey that I was just talking about.
Yeah.
That I didn't get a chance to get in there. So they were saying that they're expected to sell as many as 20,000 jerseys before the NFL season even starts, which is crazy. I mean, that's a lot of jerseys that they're going to sell.
Well, yeah, I know. Before the season even starts, right? Yeah. But, I on that point, I went to the Nats game last Wednesday when they beat the Dodgers.
Let's hang on to the wins.
Right. Let's hang on to
We need those wins.
That might have been their last win, actually. But at any rate, what I noticed, so Steve Strasburg was pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed was how many people in the stadium were wearing Strasburg jerseys.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you could tell there was a huge. I was stunned. It was a Wednesday afternoon, not such a great day, in the middle of the week, afternoon game.
Yeah, that's right.
And there were probably 35,000 people there. I mean, it wasn't.
What are these people doing with their time?
Exactly. Right. And but I think part of the reason there's such a crowd is Strasburg is such a draw.
He's crazy.
Yeah, right.
He's crazy good.
And these people, either Strasburg or Harper shirts, but mainly Strasburg, and people were wearing them, and so people really get into identifying with their particular player.
Yeah,
like Michael Sam. That's my point. Is like Michael Sam.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. And there aren't a lot of, I think up until now, right? Like. Chris Kluwe was the kicker who was very adamant about gay rights and inclusion. Brendan Iambadejo, who we had in studio with us.
A couple of times.
Very, very inclusive guy that's very outspoken about if we have a gay player, we'll welcome that player. But yeah, there hasn't been a name player that the LGBT community could rally around. And so this guy was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and he went he did go low in the draft, which there were some concerns that maybe he wasn't going to get drafted.
Which would have been an embarrassment to the NFL.
It would have been an embarrassment to the NFL. Right. He would have been fine. I think he still would have been picked up. If you don't go in the draft, you could still get picked up. But there was some concern. There was some jitters on Twitter. I was watching, and people were going, boy, if they don't pick him up, this is going to be a black eye.
Yeah.
And they finally did, and it was great because when they made the announcement, they've gotten so good at covering this draft stuff. They have a camera on the player almost at all times, right?
Right.
So when they get the phone call, they see him get the phone call from the team saying, we're picking you.
I'm surprised he wasn't there at Radio City, right?
No, because they don't do as big of a ceremony for the later rounds.
Oh, okay.
The first round is the big. They do a big to-do.
Right.
But the later rounds, they're sort of hanging with family in hotel rooms or things like that. And when they made the announcement, he was there with his boyfriend.
Right.
And gave him a big kiss on the mouth, and it was great. It was great.
Except that one idiot player who put out a statement saying this was, oh my God.
Oh my God,
oh my
gross
God.
Or something like that.
The Dolphins player.
I forgot who it was now, but he deleted the tweets because I'm sure someone said, hey, dummy. Get that out of here.
Don Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, it looks like we're going to have a little bit of trouble reaching Dennis Van Roekel. I hope he can join us a little bit later. He's president, of course, of the NEA, good friend and supporter of the program. He is part of a, I'm sure one of the reasons we're having a hard time is he's out in front of the Supreme Court with a little crowd there this morning. Not a protest, but the message is this is the 60th anniversary of Brown v. Board of Education. And they are bringing us, the NEA and other supporters of public schools, bringing attention to that, this day as an opportunity to reflect on what the situation today is with equal opportunity in public schools across the land for both black students and white students and Latino students, for all students. Good message there. Good day to celebrate that. And hopefully we'll be able to talk to Dennis Van Roekel a little bit later in the program. Wait a minute. He might just be joining us. If he is.
Let's see if we can't. I don't know if we can take a break and then get him on the other side.
I think that's what we ought to do. With him. Yeah. Let's wait till Lisa's ready there. Okay. All right. Sort of a one-man band in there. Right. Okay. Elisa, what's the story? Good. I'll tell you what. We'll take a quick break.
There you go.
Okay, we'll have more time with President Van Roekel on the other side of this break. And we'll be back and talk about this 60th anniversary of Brown v. Board of Education and what that means for America's public schools.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You make it sound very easy to take these 90-degree turns in your career. You went from engineering to law. But there's an awful lot of people at that age who feel they're on a track, they've invested time in learning a career, and they need to see it through to the end, or maybe their parents are pushing them to stay in one route. What is your advice for a young person?
Stay away from your parents.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
My mom is a pretty spectacular human being. We essentially came to the United States as refugees. And that is when I really got to understand who my mom was as a person. Being a refugee in a foreign country, you would think that it would affect you so much. It was like my mom, nothing changed for my mom. What was really at her core and her center was always being with her kids and getting to spend time with them and making sure that they were okay and making sure that they could still go out and play soccer. I knew that if my goal was to go to Liberia and to work on economic justice so that, kids could go to school and have access to a doctor if they have malaria, that if I bet on their moms, we win.
I think I just come from a lineage of kick-ass women is all I can say. My grandmother came to this country from Mexico as a single mom with 5 children. And I, have an amazing mother who had 3 children, was going to school, working full-time. I mean, almost my story. But she did that and got her bachelor's degree at 40. And so I had a great role model. When I came home and told my mom I was pregnant, her response to me wasn't, your life is over. Her response to me is, well, I want a plan. You need to, let me know what you're going to do about this because you're now responsible for somebody else.
I was the first one in my family to go to college, and my parents were very proud of it. They both had to work. My mom in a factory and my dad in the supermarket, and I was their success story. However, on graduation day, they said, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be an engineer? You're going to be a businessman? What are you going to, lawyer? I said, I'm going to join the Peace Corps. And they said, what? My parents were very much opposed to this, and it was very difficult.
How much pressure did they put on you?
Tremendous pressure. Up until we were leaving from O'Hare Airport for me to go to Peru, my mother questioning me, like, where is Peru? You've never been out of the country. What do you know? Do they have doctors? Do they speak English there? What are you going to eat? You like my cooking? I said, Mom, I'm going to be a pioneer. Why do you always have to be the pioneer? Let them do it. Let them come back, and then you go. I said, no, I want to be the first to go.
I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood, so there was a lot of gang activity, and one of my friends actually was murdered on a basketball court when a 15-year-old child shot him in the back of the head. And I was just hopeless. And my mom actually, she brought me to a place of empathy for the kids who were involved in actually murdering him, because my mom sort of said, look, where do you think those kids are coming from? And then she said, so if you're angry about it, do something. Actually change the way this world works.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 22 minutes after the hour now. As I mentioned, big day in the education world, the 60th anniversary of that landmark decision of the Supreme Court, Brown v. Board of Education, that outlawed school segregation policy. So how well are we doing today? President Dennis Van Roekel, president of the National Education Association and a great friend and supporter of the program, joins us on our news line this morning. Hey, Dennis, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill. Good to be back.
Yeah, I know. Good to have you back, and you are always up to, you're so busy and doing so much. So just give us some thought about what does this decision mean for, what does it mean for public schools in this country, and where are we today?
Well, Bill, this is just really something that we need to pay attention to on this 60th anniversary of Brown v. Board of Education. Now, equity has always been a cornerstone of public education. Equity and opportunity. And 60 years ago, in that decision, what they said is separate is always inherently unequal. And the sad thing is that 60 years later, and the inequity is still horrible in our system. And segregated schools are worse. There are more kids segregated today than there were 60 years ago in Brown v. Board of Education.
Whoa, really?
So yeah, it is. 4 in 10 of African American and Hispanic kids are in schools that are 90 to 100% ethnic minority. And there are a lot of factors in that. Economic is one of them, what's happening to our economy and the middle class. But the real issue here, to me, is this: what does it really mean about equity? The Great American Experiment, when I was growing up, they talked about the Great American Experiment in education. And I used to think when I was a kid that meant we valued education more in America than the rest of the world. That's not what it is. All countries value education, and there's no society in the world that ever denied the rich and the powerful the opportunity to an education. What made America unique is we said it was for all. It's the who. And we're not doing that today in our country, and we need to take that on and say it's time that the richest, most powerful nation lives up to its ideals and say this opportunity for an education to go wherever your dreams may lead you ought to be true for every child in America, not just some. Well,
I was really shocked by what you said about so many students today, Black and Latino students. In effect, it's de facto segregation. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. The proportion of students of color has increased over these 60 years, and we need to change that. And when you look at the inequity that exists, not only are they segregated,
right,
but the inequity that we talked about in Brown v. Board of Education 60 years ago is in those schools. You see the revolving door of teachers and principals. You see incredible disparity in resources. Bill, I was in New Jersey last Wednesday, and I visited a school. It's 115 years old, 2 floors plus a basement. and 300 kids in this school, there are 2 bathrooms. One for the boys, one for the girls, in the basement for 300 kids. They don't really have a kitchen or a lunchroom, and whenever it rains, the basement hallway where they go and get in line to get their food floods. Now, why is that? Why in the world should all of those kids be subjected to that? And so on this anniversary, let's pay attention and say it's wrong.
Is this a matter of rural schools versus urban schools and the inner city schools that are, that are not providing this equity as you talk about, or is it across the board?
I think it's very true in both urban and in rural and small schools. The suburban schools, if we're making a generalization, have far greater facilities and opportunities for kids. But when you have inequity in opportunity or access to a decent school, that's going to follow these kids the rest of their life.
Sure.
You can't do that to this younger generation and survive as a nation.
So what are you I know are joining a group in front of the Supreme Court. Other activities this week or today to mark this anniversary?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many things going on. You mentioned we'll be at the Supreme Court with a whole group of others to talk about. It's being organized by the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools, and they're going to be parents, students, educators, and just community members from across the country. NEA on that same day, on the 13th, will release it's called Time for Change, Diversity in Teaching Revisited. And that is to look at the inequity of what the teaching population looks like. We need to have more diversity. It ought to look like the kids in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
It ought to be as diverse as our students.
Good point.
But the big place where you can find all sorts of things is just go to NEA.org/school equity. NEA.org/school equity. And there are all kinds of resources there to tap into of things you can do and read and to participate in some way. Extremely important message, extremely important facts, and get that word out there. I think most Americans have no idea that schools are that this de facto segregation exists to the extent that you mentioned that it does. President Dennis Van Roekel of the NEA, thank you for your time again. We'll have a link up on our website to NEA.org/school equity. Thanks, Dennis. Have a good day. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, Bill. It's always good to talk with you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I talk to undergraduates and graduate students who are desperate to go out and start something and build something and be the one to come up with that silver bullet solution. And I just want to say, slow down.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
Most of the people you're talking to who want to come into the social change space, are they prepared?
If you're early in your career, there's a couple of really important things to do. The first one is just to shut the hell up and don't talk for about 5 years and work really, really hard. The only way you're going to be given more difficult things to do is by solving the ones you're already given. And if you're somebody who's always complaining or wants to be promoted above where they really are, you can't learn enough to start to take on a greater pool of responsibilities.
Advice you would give a person coming out of college is go work for other people, make your mistakes on their dime.
That sounds like me, absolutely.
It does sound like you.
And you know who that came from is one of my board members, Eric Buttline. Eric had seen me start a few companies as a young kid. I mean, I started my first real company when I was 16. And Eric said, "Chid, do me a favor. I know you have this thing in your head that you think you're this great entrepreneur, but go work for somebody for a little while and just learn how things are supposed to be done. And when you're done with that, let's have another conversation about your next venture."
And I think another thing to remember, and this is something that I've really only learned in the past couple of years, is that although the problems are urgent and so important for us to address, I need to have more patience. I'm not going to solve those problems on my own. You're not going to solve those problems on your own. I'm an apprentice in all of this. You know, I'm an apprentice in life. I'm an apprentice in problem solving. I'm not going to change the world until I'm at least 65. That's my goal at this point.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org to let us know your thoughts.
Tune in to the Thom Hartmann Program, a live broadcast featuring the nation's #1 progressive talk show host. Phones open at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Free Speech TV.
Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour now here on the Bill Press Show on a Monday morning, May 12. The Bill Press Show brought to you today by the American Federation of Government Employees, good men and women of the AFGE under President J. David Cox. Proud to work for America every day. You bet. And for more information, you can find out. You can visit their website at afge.org. Well, on the political front, we know it's going to be a busy year, and it's going to be an expensive year, at least for some people. Ken Vogel from Politico reporting that the Koch brothers plan on going on a spending spree of at least $125 million. And Ken Vogel, chief investigative reporter for Politico, joins us on our news line this morning. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Bill. Great to be with you.
How are you? I haven't talked to you in a while. Everything good?
Doing very well, yeah. I have a book actually coming out next month, June 3rd, on this very subject called Big Money. It's on big money in politics on both sides, so I'm excited for that.
Big money in politics, good. You are hereby officially booked on the on the Bill Press Show in studio, Ken. We insist our authors come in studio here.
Get in here.
And, and we'll talk about the book in more detail. So we'll get in touch with you, your publisher, and work something out for that. Congratulations. That's great. So tell us what the Koch brothers have in mind for what'd you find out for 2014?
Yeah, $125 million. That's really an unprecedented amount of money to be spending in a midterm election. It would be more, $125 million, than was raised by the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the National Republican Congressional Committee, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, and the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Individually, they all raised less than that in 2012. So $125 million from Americans for Prosperity, which is the Koch brothers' main political group, would really be the first time that we've seen an outside, independent, private political operation spend more than one of the party committees, congressional campaign arm in a midterm election. And it's sort of a continuation of this migration of power and money from the inside, from the party committees and the congressional committees to the outside. Obviously, the Koch brothers have led the way and Americans for Prosperity is their main political organ. So it's kind of a sea change here.
Right. Now, a couple of questions. First of all, you have twice used the phrase their main political organ or organization. They do have many, many others, right? So $125 million is not really the total they'll be spending in 2014.
Yeah, that's true. The total is going to be a lot more than that. And in fact, talking with folks from Americans for Prosperity and folks who are familiar with Americans for Prosperity, they say that even Americans for Prosperity is probably going to spend more than $125 million. That figure was just something that they sort of threw out there to raise money from donors to show that they were having that they had a really ambitious plan for the 2014 midterm. In fact, they have been so successful at fundraising that they anticipate raising more than that, and they are getting their donors together. The Koch brothers, have a network of donors. It's not just the Koch brothers' money. They raise money from a number of wealthy conservatives. Those folks are getting together in June in Colorado, probably, although they're pretty secretive about the location, to raise money for both Americans for Prosperity and the other groups in their network. So we can expect truly a huge and unprecedented effort from the Kochs headed into 2014.
Now, but most of their political contributions to candidates or to committees come through Americans for Prosperity. Are they looking at both House races and Senate races?
Yeah, absolutely. They are already spending in some House races. This is also unusual and shows the unprecedented nature of what they're doing. In the past, they've spent almost entirely in Senate races. Now they're expanding into House races.
Senate and House, and they're already out there, right? I mean, I know in Louisiana, I think in North Carolina, they're already on the air with spots.
Right, and they're up in pretty much the Senate races that are the pivotal Senate races for Republicans in their effort to take back the Senate, including Arkansas. You mentioned North Carolina, Louisiana. You go and pick the races where Democrats are vulnerable or Republicans have a chance of taking a seat, and that's where they're up.
And are they supporting particular candidates or just going against the incumbent Democrat?
At this point, they're just going against the incumbent Democrats, and that is actually kind of a point of some concern for Republicans. They say, Americans for Prosperity and most of the Koch brothers groups have this nonpartisan front that they say that they are conservative, but they're not Republican, and they're just advocating for policies. And so what they're doing is attacking Democrats on Obamacare, on cap and trade, on some of these, liberal policies that they deem to be anathema to free enterprise and to economic growth and to prosperity, as Americans for Prosperity's name suggests. And there are some Republicans who say, we know that you're Republican. And in fact, and everyone who kind of takes a look at their ads concludes that they're Republican from a lay perspective. But they would be that much more effective, this line of thinking goes, if they just dropped the pretense of being nonpartisan and expressly advocated for the Republican or expressly opposed the re-election of the Democrat. Instead, they use these sort of issue ads, these sham issue ads, as reformers would say, where they say things like, Obamacare is a disaster, call Mark Pryor, the senator from Arkansas, and ask him why he supported Obamacare.
So are they a 501c3 or C4 organization?
Yeah, they're both the C3 and C4. And in fact, when I was trying to figure out what that $125 million was for, I was told, it was suggested to me that that's only for the C4, and that we could expect the C3 to spend even more on that, more than that, on quote educational efforts that are less partisan.
Huh. So, I mean, I don't want to bring Lois Lerner back into the foreground here, but I'm just wondering where the IRS is looking at how the Koch brothers are spending their money. I mean, I don't care what they call them. These so-called educational ads are really political ads.
Yeah, that's right. And even the folks who are familiar with, if not inside the organization, will say that, they're, in an election year, they're naming candidates, so they are sort of inherently political. The question is whether they cross the line, the technical line in the law of expressly advocating for a candidate, and they say that they don't. And in fact, they are more careful, I think, than a lot of these other 501c4s, big 501c4s like the Karl Rove, Crossroads, GPS, and some others, in not doing things that trigger the technical political designation in the law. And so it's a system that many people argue is deeply flawed, that allows groups to do this type of spending while saying it's not political, while keeping their donors secret. But in fact, that's what Americans for Prosperity and most of the Koch groups are doing.
Do you know if they have ever supported a Democrat?
They say that they have supported Democrats who have taken stands on policies in like a particular policy fight. And in fact, there are some areas in which they have sort of gone against the traditional Republican Party line, but they're extremely few and far between. And it has a little bit of a feel of window dressing when they point to some of these very narrow examples.
There certainly is not one incumbent Democrat today that they're supporting.
No, and in fact, they argue again that they're not even supporting Republican candidates, although there's sort of a patina of dubiousness about that.
Now, I was with a couple of conservative friends of mine the other day, and the Koch brothers came up and they said, yeah, but of course Democrats never want to talk about George Soros. Do you know how much money does George Soros, how many does he put out in political contributions a year? Do you know?
He's way down. I mean, he of course was in some ways like the forefather of this major outside political spending in 2004, where he and a number of other very wealthy liberals spent upwards of $200 million on 527 groups that were trying to defeat George Bush. Obviously, they were unsuccessful. Since then, both he and a number of the folks who were involved with that effort have kind of retreated somewhat to the sidelines in terms of their political spending. He does still spend, I don't know, maybe between $5 and $10 million a year on politics, but obviously nothing close to what the Koch brothers spend. Now, that said, there are some liberals who are emerging as major big money donors. I think of the Mostins, their trial lawyers in Houston, Jeffrey Katzenberg, Jim Simmons, a hedge fund guy. And so there are, in fact, major liberal donors, but they're not George Soros, and this continued fixation on George Soros by the right is both sort of a false equivalency and a little bit of an effort to just find a recognizable bogeyman like the Democrats have done with the Kochs to sort of answer back every time Harry Reid goes after the Koch brothers.
No, I know. The George Soros. It becomes kind of a mantra. That's. And I told them, I said, "Are you kidding?" I said, "Soros is a penny pincher, compared to the Koch brothers in terms of what he spends." Yeah, my impression is that he's just really backed away from partisan politics in particular.
And there's kind of a deeper issue here, Bill, if I may, which is that there are, in fact, some very, very wealthy liberals and Democrats, including Soros, including Bill Gates, the richest guy in America, including Warren Buffett, and they just don't give anywhere near as much at the partisan politics as these wealthy conservatives. I mean, if Bill Gates gave the percentage of his income or his net worth that the Koch brothers gave, it would be a game changer. And for whatever reason, liberals are unable to get these folks to participate in the process, and a lot of times it seems to be because these liberals are so put off by the process in which wealthy Democrats can have as much power as wealthy Republicans by spending on overt partisan political efforts, and other times it's because they give more of their money to sort of more international charities, health, medicine. And for whatever reason, they've been unable to answer back. And, there's a real effort on the left to try to bring some of these folks into the political process.
Oh, Ken, if you only knew. Hey, as former chair of the California Democratic Party, I have spent a lot of blood, sweat, and tears trying to get that message across to wealthy progressives, both in terms of supporting political candidates and in terms of supporting progressive talk radio and the media and think tanks, and and they just don't get it. They don't. It's for a whole variety of reasons, which you and I will discuss over a beer sometime, right? They don't get it, and they don't do it. And you're right. It's very, very one-sided when it comes to that personal giving into the political system. But so the big book is coming out in June, right?
June 3rd, yeah.
June
Big
3rd,
Money.
called Big Money. Hey, Ken, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time this morning and your good
You
work.
too, Bill. My
as
pleasure.
always. All right, see you soon. Thanks.
Bye.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. I mean, there was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Top of the next hour, Evan McMorris Santoro will be here as a friend of Bill for the entire hour. Jennifer Duffy from Politico, Politico Report, joins us to take a look at the big Senate races. Well, one guy who will not be running for re-election as Senate the next time around, if he runs for president, he said yesterday, Marco Rubio, telling ABC News that he believes he is qualified to be president. He has enough experience to be president. He is smart enough to be president. I'm not sure about the latter. Listen to what he said about when he was asked about climate change.
I don't agree with the notion that some are putting out there, including scientists, that somehow there are actions we can take today that would actually have an impact on what's happening in our climate. Our climate is always changing.
Yeah, Rubio says he, in fact, doesn't believe scientists, including scientists, by the way. What is this all about? What is climate change all about? It's about science, right? He discounts the scientists. He says he doesn't believe that human activity is having anything to do with the climate change, global warming. It's just a natural phenomenon we have nothing to do with, and therefore we should do nothing about it. Marco Rubio. All the scientists, all the physical evidence and all the scientific evidence staring him in the face, he doesn't believe it. Who does he think he is, right? I mean, it is just so insane, right? And by the way, he represents the state that is probably the most directly today impacted already by climate change, which is South Florida, and particularly South Florida, where the Army Corps of Engineers says that the sea is going to rise by 4 to 7 inches by 2030. Meaning,
not far off.
Parts of South Florida are going to be lost.
That's not far off.
Miami, gone by the end of the century, according to the Army Corps of Engineers. The city of Miami. And Marco Rubio, idiot, says, I don't believe it. Yeah, as I said earlier, it's sort of like saying, some people say chain smoking is just not good for you, not good for your health. But I don't believe it. So I'm just going to smoke myself to death. Yeah. Well, he's going to drown Florida to death because he just doesn't believe it. Marco Rubio, I don't care what you say. You are not the savior for the Republican Party, and you are not qualified to be president. You are not qualified to be a school teacher. You're not qualified to be a pig farmer.
That's right.
When we come back, we'll tell you what the president is up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Two hours almost down. Hour number 3 coming up. Hate to lose you on free speech, but we will. That's their decision, not ours. You have an option. Go over to the video stream at youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR, TawkrTV. And stay with us because Evan McMorris Santoro will be here as a friend of Bill for the next hour. And we'll be joined by Jennifer Duffy from the Politico Report to go over all of the important Senate races this year. Very, very important information. You don't want to miss that. Hour number 3 coming up.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine. I would make medicine for the sick. I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much.
I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter. I think I'd go looking for aliens. If I could live an extra 5 years...
I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime. I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed.
If I had 5 more extra years to live,
I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas. I don't really know. I think I'd do anything.
Why are you asking me that?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Evan McMorris Santoro here is a friend of Bill in the next hour. President Obama today gets a daily briefing with the Vice President at 10 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, he will hold a bilateral meeting with the President of Uruguay. The Vice President will also attend that. And then this afternoon at 5:25, the President in the Rose Garden will honor the 2014 National Association of Police Organizations Top Cops. And the Vice President will be there for that ceremony as well, again in the Rose Garden at 5:25. We have our briefing with Jay Carney, Press Secretary, today at 1:15. Bring you up to date on everything happens at the briefing tomorrow. Evan McMorris Santoro coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
West here reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
California, or the Golden State, has been in the midst of a 3-year drought, and this year, some scientists predict could be the driest in 500 years. Governor Jerry Brown declared a state of emergency in January and in February of this year. The world's 10th largest economy, California is also the United States' top agricultural producer. Half of all our fruits and vegetables come from California. The Golden State is not the only place on the planet struggling for this vital resource. In December 2013, the World Resources Institute found that 37 countries face severe water shortages. Free Speech TV would love to know what you think about this fight for water, especially if you're from the Golden State. Please call our comment line at 1-888-378-8855 or email us at comments@freespeech.org. to let us know your thoughts.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Donald Sterling says he was baited into making those remarks. Yeah. Like the bitch set him up? Is that what he's saying? That's been said before. Hey, good morning, everybody. Donald Sterling, meet Marion Barry. There you go. Those two deserve each other. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning, Monday, May 12. Great to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. The Bill Press Show. Here we are in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and booming out to you live all across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk radio station. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great to have you with us this morning. And wherever you happen to be on the planet, you can catch us on our video stream if you want to see what the show looks like. At TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. And you know, if it's not me sitting in this big chair, it's one of these two guys in front of me. It's either Peter Ogburn,
hey there,
a regular here, or Evan McMorris Santoro.
No one set me up today, Bill. I've not been set up at all.
You've not been baited?
I'm here on my, not been baited, not been set up.
No.
I'm here on my own terms.
She didn't make you do it?
She did not.
Yeah. Why did that girl... Here it is. He said, wait a minute. I don't know why the girl had me say those things. You're such a weenie weasel excuse.
You know, they should hire this guy to do like tunnel construction, because when he digs a hole, he really can dig a hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's way down past bedrock at this point.
No, that's right.
Every time. Now it says this girl. I mean, it's like
no.
Why did this girl make me say these things?
Remember Bill Clinton said, when you're in a hole, the first rule is stop digging.
Yeah.
No, he never learned that lesson.
No, I'm telling you, this guy's going all the way to China.
Yeah,
if I can say, I don't know if I can say. Yeah, he's going all the way.
I think you could say that. Right. I don't think that's a racist remark.
I don't know. We're good with that.
I'm not sure. Anyhow, Peter, Elisa Murphy, the rest of our team, Elisa Murphy.
Hey, good morning.
And Alicia Cruz on the phones, and Cyprian Bolding, the man behind the closed door, our videographer, right? So, well, did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend. I had a lot
Wasn't it beautiful this weekend?
It was gorgeous. I spent a lot of it looking out the window. I had a broken refrigerator this weekend, so I had to have that all repaired. Very exciting stuff.
That sucks.
Although I had a lot of chance to interact with
helping a homeowner, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was a job creator this weekend.
Take care of. Yeah,
I had to go to a food store, buy all the food that I had lost,
rebuy all the food.
I had to, buy screws, take all the screws out. Defrost. It was a big thing.
Yeah.
It was a fun weekend of defrosting and buying food.
Quality time.
Happy Mother's Day.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I called my mother. Yeah, that was great. I called my mom, got flowers. I hope everybody did that. And it was good to talk to her and my grandmother, who's 97 and in North Carolina, and talk to her for a while, too. So everybody seems, everybody's good down there.
All right. Life is good.
Yeah.
Yes. And Barbara Waters celebrated by her last appearance on television, officially, for the ABC, she said. And then she went on Saturday Night Live over the weekend, of course, and said, this is the secret of what it's all about. Why make people cry?
It is fine to make people smile, but the real money is in making them cry. Nothing brings in the viewers like seeing a celebrity reduced to tears. You may think, I'm really feeling bad for them, but all I'm thinking is, ka-ching.
That's how you do this show, right, Bill?
Make them cry, baby.
Try and make people cry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you put it out there.
Pay me.
We made Nancy Pelosi cry. Ratings go through the roof. Yeah, right, exactly. And the secret of her success all these years is she was able to find her own. This is the lesson you might want to learn here.
Yeah.
Aspiring radio talk show host, you have to find your own voice.
Well.
Develop a signature voice that no one will forget.
Wait, is that not your real voice?
No, this is my real voice. Hello, I'm Bawa Wawa.
That's the imitation that I give of her, too.
Yeah. Well, the comedy's not for everybody.
I know. That's right.
She's trying to make everybody cry, I guess. It really is pretty amazing, though. She's had an amazing career, and is one of those people that if you read about, if you're journalist my age in my 30s, and you read about what things were like when she started out, how different it was for women, how different it was for women in Washington, everywhere in the country. It's interesting to think about her career now as we talk so much about women in this campaign season starts up, because she's somebody who had to overcome so much to get to where she was. I mean, and she's still alive doing it. You know, I mean, just in one lifetime, the amount of changes that have happened for women in media is amazing.
I must admit, I've never been a big fan, but I admire her immensely for what she has done. You know,
right?
And what she has meant to other women in the field. I mean, she's a real trailblazer. Absolutely. So Evan's here. Pardon me, as a friend of Bill this entire hour. We're going to be joined by, looking forward very much to Jennifer Duffy from Cook Politico Report. She's got the answer for all the Senate races in this country, and that's where all the action is really this year. We'll find out a lot more about it from her. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Big stories of the day.
Yes, indeed. Let's go to the sports desk where playoff basketball happened over the weekend.
Oh, do you have to go there?
Well, I'm building up the bad news. Let's start with the good news. The Heat lost a game to the Nets, which means that the Nets actually have a fighting chance. They're still down 2-1. The Spurs continue to wallop the Trailblazers 3-0 in that series.
Whoa.
The Thunder and Clippers series is currently tied 2-2.
Clippers won a big one yesterday.
Won a big one yesterday. And, of course, the bad news is last night the Washington Wizards lost to the Indiana Pacers. That puts them in a deep hole, 3-1.
They came back to Washington and lost both games.
Yeah, that's too bad.
They were up 19 points at the half.
I know.
They were up 19 points at the half and then gave it away. Yeah. So, anyway, it's a really, really deep hole.
I think they've run out of gas.
It appears that way. I hate to put it that way, but yeah, it appears that way. Comedy Central has announced that they have found their replacement for Stephen Colbert, who is departing to take over The Late Show from David Letterman. The new show will be hosted by The Daily Show's senior black correspondent, Larry Wilmore, and it's going to be called The Minority Report with Larry Wilmore.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Yeah, he's so funny. This guy's hilarious.
Really good. He's been there since 2006. And they even point out that this show is going to feature a diverse panel of voices currently underrepresented in comedy and television.
Very smart. Yeah.
He's also best known from the early episodes of the American version of The Office, where he came into that whole. He's like the guy that had to do the racial. He was like the guy from PR. They had the HR. They had to clean up the actors. Hilarious. People should go back and watch that on Netflix. He's really, really funny guy.
Very few people do the whole racial comedy thing as smart and as funny as Larry Wilmore does. It's very good, so it should be great. You've seen the 5-finger shoes. They're the shoes that have the little toe holes. It looks like you're wearing barefoot shoes.
Yeah. The Vibram shoes?
Vibram Shoes is the company, right? They're called the 5-finger shoes, and the company is Vibram. 70 million Americans apparently wear these monstrosities.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No,
yeah, they're huge.
70 million Americans purchased a pair of those barefoot running shoes. Well, it turns out that if you've bought some of them, you might be entitled to some cash.
Why?
A judge has ruled in favor of. What are you doing over there? No, are you pulling out your shoes? Don't pull out the barefoot shoes.
Keep going.
A judge has ruled a class action lawsuit waged against the Vibram company. A judge has ruled in favor of the class action lawsuit, $3.75 million to people who said that Vibram made false claims about the health benefits of their shoes. They said that they strengthen muscles in the feet and lower legs, improve range of motion in the ankles, feet, and toes, and other claims. The judge said that's all bogus, BS, hogwash. Threw it all out. And
so you're telling me that when someone said, well, okay, the problem with shoes have been your toes were in individual little tubes.
Right.
You put them in tubes, all your problems will be solved.
Toe tube shoes.
People believe that?
It's the solution.
No, but you know where this comes from. I don't know with you. Born to Run.
Yes.
Have you read the book?
No, I haven't read the book because I
read the book. The book is, well, these are real people. You know, they may be in some remote tribe in Mexico or wherever it is, but that run barefoot. They run 100 miles barefoot, and so as a result of that, more and more of the shoe companies, athletic shoe companies, have gotten down to like it's almost like not having.
There's no support.
Right.
There's no nothing.
No, exactly.
It's just a thin piece of plastic.
Right.
But these are people who've done everything without shoes their whole life.
That's true. Right.
So they haven't really.
But the big craze are these shoes, and then Nike has a shoe called a Flyknit, which is
just has your heel out. There's no. It's nothing. It's just the front of a foot. That's right.
It's half a shoe.
Right. No, it's crazy. Like there's no support at all. It's just right. That's a whole thing.
Well, Reebok has no one where you just tie a shoelace around the top of your foot. And you just go
wrap it like a present.
I know this because I went to the Nike store yesterday and got news. There it is.
Those are very fetching.
Yeah. Now these.
What's the bottom of that look like?
That says support right on it. That's a.
No, but this has
real
support
shoe.
on it, and but I did not get the fly knit, which is no support because they curve up even when your foot's not in it.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I need a little
like
bit
an
more
elf
than that.
shoe.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Like one of Santa's
you
elves?
look like enough. They don't have little. They don't have little bells on the end, but they could. Yeah.
What happened to shoes? Like,
Right?
I buy shoes so rarely now.
Right.
I miss like every shoe trend.
Very nice shoe.
Yeah, those are cool.
All right. So there we go. Thank you, Peter.
I would kind of like to see you with a little elf shoe, though.
I can't. I still. I'm just shocked that those toe sneakers are not legitimately good for you.
Right?
All right. There we go.
She'll be telling me that cigarette for heart health diet just turns out to be
really
a
bad idea. The cookie diet?
Right.
Really terrible.
All right, so Evan, the president, went off to the West Coast yesterday, but while he was gone, the White House, as a follow-up to the big climate change report last week, announced big news on the White House roof. You've written about it, huh?
Well, big, thin news. Very, very thin, skinny news. It's Obama has put solar panels back on top of the White House. This is something that the White House had announced plans to do in 2010. The story first came out. It took a long time to get it done, I guess, but it's all American-made products. I mean, this is a showcase of two things that Obama wanted to talk about. One is the climate change stuff that he's been talking about right along and trying to showcase what he can do without the congressional GOP, who won't do anything on climate change. He had to show what he could do, and so one of the things he can do is put these solar panels on the White House and try to sort of suggest to everybody else that they put solar panels on their house and reduce the amount of power coming out of power generators. But the other thing he was doing was showing this idea of alternative energy as an economic driver, and American-made solar cells, American-made power converters that turn the sun's power into electricity, American installation, the whole product, the whole thing is just totally domestic, which is a big deal because actually, a lot of that the manufacture of solar panels has actually gone over to China. So this is something that Obama's been talking about since the very beginning. Environmentalists are really happy about it. They've been wanting to do it for a long time. It's the array will produce something like 6.3 kilowatts, I believe, which is what the White House says the average American house would want if they got a solar array themselves. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those prime moments where the president can use the bully pulpit and sort of living in this famous house to make an impression about what he wants done.
And by the way, if you want, I watched the video. If you go to whitehouse.gov, the official White House website, there's a great video on the installation. It shows them putting them in, drilling down to the concrete, and the whole thing. It's a big excellent. And the White House usher talks about it. The Secretary of Energy is in the video, and this is some White House. There were solar panels in the White House in Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter installed them first. Ronald Reagan didn't like them. He didn't believe in climate change. He took them off the White House.
Right.
And
then
now
they became
back.
And the solar panels that Carter had put on became a kind of like some sort of like talisman for the environmental movement. A group of protesters brought one of the old Carter panels back to the White House in front and marched it around a few months ago.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah. And the difference between these two things, it's really amazing if you think about that. I mean, it's like
technology today is just
these are thin. They're so thin. I mean, you can't see them from the front. If you go to the White House now, or if you go to the front where you can stand as a visitor and look at it, you can't see these panels. It's not like those big ones that stand up. I think you probably could see in Carter's era. You can't even see these. So they had to put a video out, I guess, to show that they did it. But yeah, it's a big part of what the president's trying to do this year. He's trying to showcase that he can do all this stuff without Congress, and this is one of the things he can do without Congress.
Now, I'm not going to say that he is following my example, but I do want to point out that in January, Carol and I had solar panels installed on our house right here on Capitol Hill, just a block from the studio. And I was mentioning earlier, Peter could not believe this, but our electricity bill has just plummeted down, right, monthly. and there are only the two of us. We don't need that much electricity. We are now generating more electricity than we can use, and we will soon get our first check back from the utility company for electricity that we have sold them.
Oh, you're a power baron now.
Exactly. I said I have a power plant on my roof.
But this is exactly this. Well, and what you're talking about is exactly the kind of energy
and that's what
economy
people ought to
Obama
do.
wants.
People ought to look into it. Yes.
Smart grids that let you put power back into the grid.
Yep.
Alternative energy on your house. I mean, what you're talking about. This is the kind of thing Obama's been talking about for a long time, and has had zero interest from Republicans in helping to get.
So
Congress.
screw Congress. There are some things we can do.
That's I think what Obama has been saying pretty much for the whole. Year. That's something just the whole year. But yeah, I mean, it's you know, the solar panels were only sort of like the most the sort of the most tangible part of a larger effort he's talking about with solar power all over the country, trying to get public-private partnerships to build solar panels.
That's why he was at
like
Walmart out in San Jose on Friday with that message. By the way, not everybody's a believer, however. Like, for example, Marco Rubio. Yeah, what he said about climate change when we come back with Evan McMorris Santoro here on a Monday morning. And join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making Home Affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour, Jennifer Duffy from the Politico report joins us in the next half hour right now with Evan McMorris Santoro here from Buzzfeed as a friend of Bill. We're talking about alternative energy, solar energy, climate change. I thought we were all believers today, but not necessarily. Marco Rubio, the savior of the Republican Party, some people say, certainly interested in running for president in 2016. He's up in New Hampshire over the weekend campaigning. He was asked on This Week yesterday with George Stephanopoulos, what should we do about about global warming? Here's Marco Rubio. Yes, coming up. Okay. There we go.
I don't agree with the notion that some are putting out there, including scientists, that somehow there are actions we can take today that would actually have an impact on what's happening in our climate. Our climate is always changing.
Yeah, all the scientists may say there's such a thing as global warming. I don't believe it. Marco Rubio.
Well, this is, he's speaking the Republican Party gospel. What he is saying is not an odd statement from anybody in the Republican side of the aisle in current politics today. I mean, this is an issue more so. I mean, Marco Rubio is a person who sort of went off the reservation when it came to immigration, to talk about immigration reform.
Yeah.
But climate change is too dangerous. No one, Republicans don't embrace that.
And his state is sinking. His Miami is going to be gone by the end of the century. Gone. That's what the Army Corps of Engineers says. And Marco Rubio says, I don't believe it.
I don't think you're going to see any difference from anybody else running for president on the GOP side than that statement.
Remember, but in 2008, John McCain said he believed in global warming.
Where to get him, Bill?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Yeah.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's 33 minutes after the hour now. The Bill Press Show on a Monday morning, May 12. Good to have you with us, everybody. Thank you for being here. And we are coming to you live from Capitol Hill, our studio right up down the street from the United States Capitol building. Brought to you today by the International Association of Machinists, the good men and women of the Machinist Union. Under President Tom Buffenbarger, sharpening America's edge on the global economy. You bet. And you can find out more about their good work at GoIAM, their website, goiam.org. Yeah, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, where all the focus this year is on House races, every single House race up, and 36 Senate races up for re-election this year. Nobody knows those Senate races better than Jennifer Duffy, senior editor of the Cook Political Report, who joins us in studio this morning. Hi, Jennifer.
Good morning.
Nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Joining Evan McMorris Santoro here as a friend of Bill all this hour from Buzzfeed. Evan, I haven't seen you since the Buzzfeed party the night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And
how was I and when you saw me? Was I doing okay?
You were drunk.
Thank you. But
it was a good party.
It was a good party.
All right. Well, Jennifer, there's so many important races and so many contested races, I guess.
No, they're close races. We have about 8 races that are within the margin of error today.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So let's start in North Carolina, because the big primary last week where the establishment Republican Party said, we're still here, right? And we still have some clout.
Not only are we still here, we have a lot of clout, and we're going to show you how much, because the goal in this primary wasn't just to win it. You had to get over 40% or force a runoff, which isn't until July, which is not what Republicans wanted. They didn't want the incumbent Democrat, Kay Hagan, to have a free ride until then. So getting that 40% plus one was their goal, and you saw some outside groups do some different things than they've done in the past. And it sort of fits my bill that, in 2010, I think that the establishment ignored the Tea Party to their peril. 2012, they tried to work with them, and that didn't succeed. In 2014, they're going to fight back. And you saw it first in, saw it first here. You're going to see it in some other states down the road. Probably Georgia, probably Iowa, certainly Mississippi. We've seen some of it already.
Mm-hmm. And Kentucky too, right?
And Kentucky.
Right. So Tom Tillis, the Republican nominee now,
he's Speaker of the State House. The candidate
and it also became Rand Paul versus Mitch McConnell,
Mike Huckabee,
I guess.
Versus Mitch McConnell. Take your pick. It was, but again, I think part of the Tea Party's challenge that they cannot seem to overcome is that they tend to get behind pretty flawed candidates. One of the reasons I think Rand Paul endorsed this guy, Greg Brennan, is he's a physician. Because Paul does a lot of that. He endorses other doctors.
He's an ophthalmologist.
Right. He endorses other doctors, but Brandon was a flawed candidate. The third candidate, there were 7, by the way, but the third competitive candidate, Mark Harris, Baptist minister, had Mike Huckabee's support, had a lot of the real sort of hard right social conservative support. So it was dividing that pie 3 ways.
So how do you, where do you rate that as a toss-up now,
It's
or
a
what?
toss-up. I mean, the polling I've seen...
Kay Hagan, the incumbent Democrat running
Right.
for re-election, of
The
course.
polling I've seen between Hagan and Tillis, margin of error stuff. He's up 2 points. She's up 2 points. Take your pick. This is going to be a race. Now, Chuck Todd, at NBC, calls this the bellwether for Senate races, and I don't really disagree, because here you have a purple state. Obama won it once, did not win it in 2012. It's been a swing state. So I think that, maybe as North Carolina goes, the nation goes. We'll see.
How do people who look at work like you do figure out which one of these models to follow? Because you're talking about toss-ups, and then I was reading the Washington Post the other day. There's an 82% chance that Republicans win the Senate, and the New York Times has their own model, and Nate Silver's got his own model. Are we in a? Is this a Republican year? What's the model that we should be looking at when we think about what
I don't think we look at any one model.
Okay.
We're analysts, right? We're not out there to sort of to make our own model per se, although we have our ratings which get some attention,
right?
But we look at them all. 82% makes no sense to me. I don't know how you get there, and I've read it. I've read the methodology. I still don't know how you get there. I think Nate Silver has it about 60%, which is fine. But when I look at some of these individual races, now, for example, he only gives Democrats a 25% chance of winning Kentucky, and that's crazy. They have a 50% chance of winning Kentucky. It is that close.
Really? Yeah.
One of the things I do like to look at, Mark Blumenthal, who runs the polling part of Huffington Post.
Oh, yeah, Pollster. Yeah.
Pollster has some great trend lines, right, where he puts every poll taken. It's got sort of a margin of error in it, but you can see consistency and you can see movement where it happens, which is when I look at his trend line for Kentucky, it's 2 straight lines, very, very close
right?
together.
Yeah.
There's no movement whatsoever. So
Right.
I sort of try and keep track of that, but I look at everything. I watched 30 Outs yesterday just for fun.
Whoa, that sounds like a thrill. But,
Yeah.
but you say we're closer to like a more of a toss-up year than.
Well, here's some of the things to look at, right? First of all, don't put all eggs in any one basket with the Senate, because unlike the House, where you've got 435 races, which is a significant pool, you've got 36, right?
That's right.
It's hard to get to be statistically significant with 36. But here's what we do watch. Watch the president's approval, the right direction, wrong track numbers, the generic congressional ballot test, consumer confidence. We watch consumer confidence because for everything we see about an improving economy, you're not seeing a lot of voter confidence in where the economy is, even though they may be confident about their own position in the economy.
Yeah.
So look at all those things. We're also looking at some healthcare polling, and take them as a whole. And you see a Republican year, but I don't think you're seeing a wave year.
Mm-hmm. I want to come back to some of the. So we mentioned Kentucky.
Yeah.
You haven't had the primary yet,
No, 2 weeks.
right? In 2 weeks,
Right.
But it looks like McConnell's going to win the primary. So it'll be McConnell versus Allison
Lundergan Grimes.
Lundergan Grimes, right? Where do you have that on a?
That is
still
a toss-up.
Also
honestly,
a toss-up.
that race is within the margin of error. Has been within the margin of error. It's 2 points. It's often tied. This is a race where Democrats can really achieve what they say they're going to do with what they're calling this Bannock Street Project, which is to identify and get their vote out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the state they got to do it.
Yeah, right. Georgia,
another primary coming up in a couple of weeks. You have a very crowded field. Republicans had a great deal of anxiety about Georgia. There are 2 candidates in that primary. They're both members of Congress, Phil Gingrey, Paul Brown, that they preferred not to have as their nominee because they have a tendency to say very controversial things. They're not They don't put together great campaigns. It doesn't look like either of them are in the top 3 right now.
Oh.
So yeah, I know.
So Republicans may get a break there.
Republicans may get a break. I don't know if they'll get the perfect candidate. So the run, and you're going to a runoff there. There's no question because the threshold in Georgia is 50%.
Oh.
And you've got a very crowded field. So you've got a businessman, David Perdue, who has put at least $1 million, probably $1.5 million into this race. Congressman Jack Kingston and Karen Handel, the former Secretary of State. Perdue right now leads. He'll probably get the one spot in that runoff, and then it's a battle between Kingston and Handel as to who gets the other one.
Right. It's a big change for Handel. She's come out of nowhere on that race.
She has, and she has David Perdue to thank for it because he criticized, without naming her, a candidate in this race because the issues we deal with are too complicated to have somebody who just graduated from high school.
Yeah, right.
And blew it up for her. So.
And Michelle Nunn on the other side, Democrat.
Nunn, I think Michelle Nunn is Democrats' strongest recruit of the cycle, without a doubt. She has run a great campaign. She's a prolific fundraiser. She is on message all the time. Her ads are very strong.
And she's got some bipartisan appeal at any rate, right?
She does.
Former head of the Points of Light Foundation.
Her first ad features George H.W. Bush.
Right.
And her father, former Democratic Senator Salmon. So, absolutely.
So do you have that leaning Democrat?
No, not yet.
No,
not
toss
yet,
up?
because it's still very close. And we need a nominee first.
Right.
Give me a nominee, and then we can make some
call it a
decisions
toss up?
about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
One of only 2 Republican seats that are competitive right now.
Oh, that's right. It is. Yeah, it's held by right. The other one, Kentucky. Okay, we still have Louisiana. We have New Hampshire. I'm just trying to think of the ones we want to get to after. I want to take a quick break. We'll come back.
Alaska.
Yeah, I got an open seat in Michigan.
Arkansas, Alaska. Michigan. Okay. Well, on New Hampshire.
On the road, Bill. Let's go.
I know. Let's go. We'll do a quick break and then come back with Jennifer Duffy and Evan McMorris Santoro, and we'll tell you what's going to happen in the Senate. All the answers coming up on the other side of the break.
This is the Bill Press Show.
When my daughter told me she was getting married,
Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
With Jennifer Duffy from the Cook Political Report, cookpolitical.com, and Evan McMorris Santoro from Buzzfeed is going to hopscotch through some of the remaining important, they're all important, maybe the most highest profile Senate races. Jennifer, Louisiana, Mary Landrieu.
Louisiana, always a great race. But Landrieu, you know, she has a tough race. The Republican candidate here is a congressman named Bill Cassidy. He's a physician. Now, it's interesting. You got to remember how Louisiana does things a little bit differently than the rest of the world. On Election Day, all candidates, regardless of party, run on a single ballot. If somebody gets 50% plus one, game over. If not, the two top candidates move on to a runoff, which will be December 6th.
That is so weird.
It is weird.
Oh, Georgia's even stranger. Their runoff's in January. Can't wait.
Oh, yeah. So we may not know, right?
We may not know. I mean, if it comes down to January, there are a lot of questions to be answered, like how do you organize the Senate when you don't have a party in control until after the new Congress actually begins. But so Landrieu finds herself, I think, in an uncomfortable place. One, she's a great campaigner. She, after running one disastrous campaign, in 2002, she has put together a good campaign structure, as she did in 2008. But the state has gone increasingly Republican over the years. And while she manages to get a lot done for the state, if there's one state where Keystone is not an issue, as in there's not much opposition, it's Louisiana. Now that she's chairman of the Energy Committee, this is, her constituents want to see her get this done. She's got a Democratic leadership who would rather not see it done. So really, Keystone may be a huge issue in the Louisiana race.
Where do you have it now?
Toss up.
Toss up.
Right. She's sitting in the low 40s, which is not a particularly healthy place for an incumbent. But remember, it is a multi-candidate field right now. You have another Republican in this who just put up his first ad that featured him wrestling an alligator. I love this
Terry
job.
McAuliffe did that. Arkansas, Mark Pryor.
There's going to be some polling out today that shows Pryor with a bit more of a lead than people suspect. This is going to be another big fight, just because, again, this is very red state. But what Democrats have managed to do is make some of the key races in that state competitive. So it's not just the Senate. Gubernatorial race there is going to be very competitive. Jump ball right now. But, I think in Washington, there came to be this mindset that Pryor was a goner.
Yeah.
And that's never been true.
We've seen that before. I mean, that was a story with Claire McCaskill in 2012.
Right.
She was a goner, and then
then
Todd Aiken comes
Aiken.
out, and then that was...
Well, I think Cotton is Tom Cotton, congressman, very young guy.
Yeah.
Highly decorated veteran, Harvard-educated lawyer. He is a strong candidate in a lot of ways, but there is a big tradition for the name Pryor in Arkansas, and that won't be forgotten by a lot of older voters.
Mark Begich, Alaska.
Mark Begich, Alaska. Mark Begich is still waiting to see who his opponent's going to be, and Alaska holds its primary late. It's in August. I think that the front runner and probably the guy who wins the primary is a guy named Dan Sullivan, who has had a number of roles in Alaska: Attorney General, Secretary for their Natural Resources Department, so otherwise known as the Secretary of Oil and Gas.
Natural Resources
right,
in Alaska.
They got salmon.
Yeah, as it's known. Begich is being very, very aggressive, and he's going to run a very aggressive race. He's already been on the air with some ads featuring him on. And I was been corrected on this twice, so I will say it correctly. On a snow machine. In the middle of, and his tagline is, Washington needs to learn that I don't take no for an answer. And so, very strong campaign now by him. And Sullivan, he
Do you have that as a toss-up, too?
Yep, toss-up.
Begich has been one of the most strongest candidates running against Obama, right? He said, I don't want him to come here and campaign for me. I don't want to see him around.
Right. And the ads, the focus has been, in an era of no earmarks where you can't, point to, I built this road, I built this.
Sure.
He's talking about vet centers he's gotten open. This road he did get built, which required the snow machine. I understand there was a little frostbite involved, too, in the filming of that ad, because it was 21 below.
Oh my God.
But really strong campaign. I think Sullivan's a good candidate, but it's one of these things where this race doesn't start until August.
All right. So we don't have time to get through all the other states. Let me just ask you then the bottom line question, which is, you're asked all the time, I'm sure. Yeah. So how do you rate the chances of the Senate flipping?
Right now, they are 50-50.
Really? 50-50.
50-50.
So it's not as bleak as a lot of people are writing.
No,
and
it's not.
From your perspective.
Because, one, we need to see some of these primaries play themselves out. Georgia's a big one. Iowa's a big one. Republicans have succeeded in putting some more races on the field, Democratic-held seats, that they have some room for error that they didn't have 6 months ago, but it's still a jump ball.
Yeah, how about that? So there you go. Evan, you can't believe everything you read in the paper.
That's why I read BuzzFeed.com/.
And that's why we read CookPolitical.com. All right. Hey, thank you both so much. Jennifer, always good of you to take the time to come in. Appreciate it. And Evan, always fun.
Awesome to see you. Thanks a lot.
See you again soon. I'll be back with today's parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, we know how real and how serious the problem of global warming really is today. We also know how impossible it is to get any action out of Congress. But we also know a lot is happening at the city level, the state level, and on the personal level, too. President Obama set a fine example this week, installing solar panels on the White House roof. Of course, he's not the first D.C. resident to do so, as most of you know. And I mentioned earlier this morning, Carol and I had solar panels installed on our roof in January. And especially now that the sun is shining, the results are spectacular. Our monthly energy bill has been cut more than 50%. We're generating more energy than we need, so much, in fact, that we are actually selling electricity back to the utility. Yes, we have our own power plant on our roof, and now President Obama does too, setting the example for American families. And you ought to look into it with all these city, state, and federal tax credits available today. You'll be amazed at how much money you can save. Do it. Go solar. Have a great day, folks. See you back here again tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.